Likutei Moharan, Terech Chav Gimel, Tzivitz Hastei Tzedek. We are holding by Seif Hey. Now we are going to explain how everything that we learned until now, you know, all the principle that says that through Tikkun Abris a person gets delivered from Taivas Mammon, for the lust for money, and the bris is the salt that sweetens the bitterness of Parnasa. Now we're going to, and we explain that mezuzah is also a bechina of Shmiras Abris, and it is helpful in to be zechet to be delivered from Taivas Mammon. Now we're going to learn how everything is included in the pasuk of Tzivitz Tzedek, Edosecha ve'emuna me'od, which is the Torah was predicated on this Tzivitz Tzedek. And Rebbe says as follows: V'chol ha'mitzvahs she'adam oseh otam belo mamon, all the mitzvahs that the person does without spending any money. Hainu she'ein roitze la'afsid mamon b'shvil ha'mitzvah. He doesn't want to lose money for the mitzvah. Zeh bechino nikra tzedek. This is called tzedek. If you remember, we said that the malchus, sometimes it is called tzedek, and sometimes it is called emunah. And when it is called tzedek, this is when it's constricted. Justice means, you know, there's no mercy. What is the truth? That's the way it is. Finish. That's din in the malchus of dino. That's the din. That's the judgment. That's the verdict. That's, you know. Now, and that's what we said last Thursday, that justice systems of all the nations, they have a justice system, okay? But their justice system is based on laws. It's not based on truth. It's based on laws. So the whole inner mechanism of their justice system is based on finding the loopholes in the laws so they'll be able to lie, or rather, so they'll be able to say something which is untrue without saying a lie. This they call justice. So justice it is, but emunah it is not. When is the malchus called emunah? When the emes is connected with it. When it's connected with emes. When a justice and emes are connected, then the malchus is called emunah. Beruchnius, we say that when the malchus is connected to Zeir Anpin is the emes. Is, you know, this is all the 6 spheres from Chesed until Yesod has the overall name of Tiferes. You know, that's the Zeir Anpin. This is Pchinas Yaakov. You know, Titen Emes LeYaakov. That's the you know, all the judgment, everything, the true judgments of what the truth is. The truth is Yaakov. This is the Zeir Anpin. Malchus is Emunah. Malchus is, you know, it's just like, you know, you believe that justice needs to be done. You know, and it's a strong emunah, you know, but it's not connected to the emes, it's not connected to Zeir Anpin, to the Pchinas Yaakov. So it's just tzedek, it's a justice system. But it's not emunah. When is it called emunah? When the malchus is connected to the emes, then it's called emunah. So we said that as long as the malchus did not connect with emes, it's called tzedek. It's called justice. And the sphere malchus, the sphere of malchus of the malchus is a euphemism for Am Yisrael. So when a person still didn't break his lust for money, and he doesn't want to lose money for the mitzvah, So he's still far from or upon him. He's still far from, because we said, once you break Tavas moment, you believe HaKadosh Baruch Hu can sustain you with an easy deed. You don't have to go crazy. He is connected to, or upon him is connected to, and when a person, Chaim, v'chulu, which is all, all the automatic results of, or upon him. Be'or pnei melech Chaim, with the light of the face of the king, his life is however, somebody who is connected, who is glued to Taivas moment, it's panim sitra acha. It's the face of defilement. This is darkness. This is death. This is the opposite of Chaim. So if a person doesn't want to lose money for the mitzvah, that means he's still far from or upon him, which is emes. So that's why if there's no emes there, so he's in tzedek. He's in tzedek. So this is a little in the pasuk that says, "Tzivita tzedek edosecha." In other words, the edus and the mitzvahs that the person does is in the level of tzedek. It's not yet in the level of emunah. Aval shechaviv kol kach mitzvah. When a person likes the mitzvah so much, at she'ein margish behefsed mam, until he does not feel the loss of money. This is called emunah. Ki iker emunah ubemamon. The main emunah that you believe in Hashem is in money. This is an unbelievably powerful pasuk. The Iker Amunah is in the money. When you break Tavas moment, this is when you believe that everything is up to Hashem. We're not talking about some, being a patsy. We're not talking about someone being irresponsible. And we're not talking about somebody, who has a hole in his pocket and the money just it's like the minute he has money in his pocket, he feels that he's rich and he can go ahead and buy a side of beef, for the little fillet that he can find in there, and the rest is just like, whatever, whatever example it is. The main thing is to break the taiva for money. This is the Iker Amunah. When a person breaks Taivas moment, Shesham Ponim Nikdusha, this is where the face of Kedusha are. This is how the pasuk finishes, Ve'emunah me'oid. So it says, Tzivita tzedek edosecha. Yeah, fine, you can do mitzvahs in a pchina of tzedek. Pchina of tzedek you can do, fine, doing mitzvahs, no problem. Ve'emunah me'oid. So Zeh moment, this is money. He says that the emunah is in the aspect of me'oid. Zemon, this is money. כמו שכוסר, as he said, ואהבת את השם אלוקיך בכל לבבך, בכל נפשך, ובכל מאודיך. What does it mean, בכל מאודיך? Chum says, בכל נפשך, even if he takes your soul away from you, בכל לבבך, בכל נפשך, בכל מאודיך is with all your money. With the And Rabbeinu says that giving 20% instead of 10%, with this, choimish instead of meiser, a person is mekayim b'ahavta Hashem Elokecha b'chol me'odecha. If you give 20%, this is b'chol me'odecha, you're mekayim that. So when a person loses money for mitzvahs, this is emunah. Yes, it's emunah. And when a person has emunah, this is me'oid, which he broke the Taivas moment. He was zecher to shatter the Taivas moment. And now we're going to explain how all this is inherent and intrinsic in this mysterious story, an exchange between Rabbi Shua ben Chananya and Sama de Beatuna. וזה פירוש. This is what it means. שהמוסבא דבאתונו, that's the sages of Athens told Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania, Eimo lanu mila dechdiva. Tell us a word of falsehood. זה בחינת שקר. In other words, what is it? What is sheker? Is b'chinas avodah zara. Sheker is avodah zara. Tell us. As Chazal said, kol hamachlif b'diburoi. Anybody who changes his dibur, he says one thing and then he changes to something else. Ki'ilu oved avodas kacham. As if he is idol, he is worshiping idols. As Chazal says. In other words, they wanted him to tell them something about the bechina of avodah zarah. But Omar lahem, so Yeshua ben Hanania answered them, Havilan kedenaisa v'yolda. We had a mule, and it gave birth. Kedenaisa zo pirda. Pirda in Lashon Kodesh is also from the root of perud, means separate. We know that Am Yisrael is called Echad, and the Goyim are called many. Why are they called Echad and called many? Am Yisrael is called Echad, is called one because they are united. And the Goyim are called many because they are separate. It's the Shon perud. It's separate. It's זה בחיnas akum. That's avodah zarah. The share pirudah. This is that it's in a state of separation. Kamuva b'zoya. Share b'chiburo. V'sayim b'pirudah. It starts with united, in a union, in getting together. V'sayim b'pirudah, and it finishes in separation. This is how it starts. V'yoldo. V'yoldo, this is revach. Revach means, what is you get an investment, and it gives birth. It gives birth. Mechuna b'shem leila. In other words, the taivas moment is an avodah zarah that gives a person profit, monetary profit. We have a peruda, we have avodah zarah, we have money, we have taivas moment. The Yalda, it gives birth, it gives money, it gives profit. It's fruitful. So the sages of Hadith says, how can avodah zarah, which is like a mule, how can it give birth? Avodah zarah is sterile, like a mule is sterile. Is it said in the Zohar, she'akum, where akum is el acher, historas velo avipein. The sitri acher, which is about the Zohar, is an union of el acher. What is el acher? El acher is a eunuch. And it cannot make fruits. In other words, it cannot multiply. It cannot give birth to more klipos, more chitzoni. The same thing is taivas moment, which is avodah zarah. Sitra cannot bring a person money and I do apologize, and profits. Veshiv lahem, Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania says, Eininu mila dechdiva. These are words of falsehood. Hainu sheker. That what? Shenidmeh lehem shemarvichim. That they live under the delusion that they are actually earning. In truth, they don't earn anything. This is what Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania said before. He says that we had a preidah, we had a mule, and it gave birth. And there was a note hanging around its neck. The masik bei Abba me alfezuzeh. It was a shtar tzavor of the mule, that it was said in it that its children need to pay back whoever it is that loaned their father 100,000 zuz. And what is alluded to in this mysterious text is Bei Abba, the house of father, Avodas Salulim. As it is said in Yirmiyah, Omer la'etz aviyata, an idol worshiper said to a piece of wood, he says, "You're my father, you created me." Va'avodas Salulim choiva. Avodas Salulim is negative, is criticizing, is shemachras hakol kaf choiv. That determines everything kaf choiv. V'chol ha'nisdamkim ba, and anybody who sticks to it, and ba'al choivos. You got debtors, they become bad debtors. So, we see it openly. That people that are immersed in Taivas moment, this is like a yoke around their neck and a burden. It's not for them the money that they have. They borrow more money from others, from the banks, and this, and then that. They get investors, they get this, they get that. And they're under the delusion that they're making a lot of money, that they're earning a lot of money. And then they die, steeped in debt. And if they don't die, with plenty of debts, and during their lifetime, they owe money. And they force themselves to work extremely hard, going back and forth, and put themselves in danger, and they travel to places and whatever it is. Just a little bit, of profit, to pay the debt of their fathers. What is their father? There is a choiv of the zara, the choiv of their taiva, like they're paying the debt of their taiva. It's a mitzvah to be mekayem divrei hames. Avodah zara is called dead. So it's mitzvah. You gotta pay for this taiva. And this thing that they run after money, and they do whatever it is, the thing they can to get rid of their money, is like a tzavor from their father. On Sharish, they should pay his debts. This is what Maharsha said. There was a note hanging on its neck. The Maharsha said, Shtar tzavor, dafka, a last will and testament. And this is what is alluded to in the words of Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya. That those that are glued onto Avodah Zarah, it's as if they have a shtar tzavor of Avodah Zarah, that they owe it 100,000 zuz, which is a ton of money, because Avodah Zarah causes them to become debtors, or work so hard as if they had a debt to pay to the Avodah Zarah of retirement moment. Then, okay. So the sage of the Chasam Dubei Atuna said to Rabbi Yochanan, says, okay, milcha kisar v'mama alchilei. A salt, when it gets rotten, when it gets spoiled, what do you salt it with? Because meat.
Yeah.
If you don't salt it, the way to prevent it from getting spoiled. So you salt it, salted meat. This is the thing that keeps it. So they said, okay, so what about if a salt, how do you prevent salt from becoming rotten, from rotting? Because the rectification of the lust for greed, for money, that's the rectification of the covenant of salt canal. In other words, you rectify the bris kodesh, and with this you will be saved from Taivas moment. He says that person who was mesaken a bris, he's a melach, he's salt. He was already rectified his bris. If he suddenly falls into lust, into greed, what is this tikkun? So he answered, with the placenta of a mule. In other words, there is another tikkun to Tavis Moed. Here it reveals a higher secret. Hainu she'istakel asher, look at the root. Shemisham ba kol hamamon v'chol hashpos. That is the spiritual origins from which money and all the bounty and all the plenty come from. And when you're looking to the root of the money, it's battle tavosa. His tava will leave him. Kisham b'shorsho, because in the root of money, in the root of this shefa, hashefa kulo oil tzach u'metzuchtzach, the plenty, the bounty, is a light which is totally clean, pure, pristine, and super polished, and if it's the tiny gruchni, and it's a spiritual pleasure. There is there's dveikus in a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and the simple dveikus, you think about a Kodesh Baruch Hu, you live with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. This is called dveikus in the Kodesh Baruch Hu. And there is what you call a natural dveikus in the Kodesh Baruch Hu. The various things that can bring a person to dveikus in the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Like even natural things, even art and music and this and that, it can bring a person to what they call natural dveikus. The natural dveikus that you derive this really sublime pleasure and everything, whatever it is. But there is a dveikus that only a yid can get. Only a yid can get. And this dveikus is totally beyond the capacity of any natural thing. It's very interesting. Rabbi Yaakov Adis, you heard of him? Yaakov Adis is, is a Makubal.
Yeah.
You wrote a lot of Sfarim, Divrei Yaakov, whatever it is. His father is Yehuda Adis, the Rabbi Yehuda Adis is Rosh Yeshiva, and he's what?
Baruch Yosef?
I think so, it might be, and he himself is a Makubal, he's like really not a person of this world at all. He wrote a lot of Sfarim, a Goyen Olam. So he wrote a book about the Dveikus, how to reach the Dveikus and whatever it is, and it's Dover Uni, whatever it is. It's what I think it's called Divrei Yaakov, or something like that. And the fourth Chelek speaks about the Dveikus, how to reach the Dveikus of. And what they did was they translated it to different languages, and they printed like maybe 1,000. Whatever it is. So, one of the languages that they printed to Italian. They printed into Italian. And they found somebody who really knows Italian and knows the Inyonim, the Kabbalah, whatever it is written in there. They translated it to Italian, it's not a thick thing. And there's a Rav in Bnei Brak went and sent it to the previous Pope.
Yeah.
Benedictus, whatever his name was.
Benedict, yeah.
Now, this Sefer totally annihilates Christianity. Totally. It says because all the priests and this is what is the promise? Why are they supposed to give up all the? What's in the end of the line for them? What do they get, from being celibate supposedly? Whatever it is. Let's say those that are, obviously there are some honest ones.
Yeah.
What's the promise? The promise is the dveikus. The promise is they will have a dveikus in the Kodesh Baruch Hu, which is beyond and it's a lie. It doesn't work. So the priests, they ask, why can we get there? We do all these things, we do these masses, we do these things, and we don't reach this, this promise, this nirvana that you're talking about, is that we don't get there.
Okay.
So the teretz that they give is, it says, in these generations it's no longer, attainable. It's for the olden days, whatever it is. So he sent, and he just kills the whole thing. He explains how to get it, and they send it to the Pope.
Yeah.
Send it to the Pope. Now the Pope, it's not like being elected president. Once you're Pope, supposedly the promise is that you get that you become infallible. What does it mean, infallible? Which means you reach this kind of dveikus in a Kodesh Baruch Hu that is beyond nature, whatever it is. And he sent him this book. And this Rav expected, that he will get, first of all, he won't get to the Pope himself. But he said if he'll get from him, he'll give him a letter which is full with some brachas, it's like, how dare you, and this and that. Instead, he got a letter from Benedict, from this Pope Benedict. He says, thank you very much for sending me this sefer. He says, you should know that I learned in it. It's a very important sefer, and I thank you very much for it. And then he resigned.
Right. Oh, right.
He resigned. Now, he didn't say why he resigned. He was given all kinds of terutzim, whatever it is. But for him to resign is really saying,
I don't believe in this.
It doesn't work. It's not a thing. It's very interesting. So it's, the Vekas, you're talking about when a person looks to the Shirish, when you're breaking the Avodah Zarah, look at the Shirish. Over there, we're talking about a spiritual pleasure. The En Misaveh, then a person, the En Misaveh, actually, there was a different nusach that says En Mitaveh, which means he's not lusting after. It says the other nusach says En Mit'abeh, which means, and it doesn't coarsen into money, Tavas Momen, Ela Lemata, only down here. Umiu Peti Yosu Hena Lashlich Tanuguch, who is such a fool, will throw away a spiritual pleasure like this. Velikach Tanugav, to take this coarse pleasure. But to come to this gazing into the Shirish, you cannot come to it until you're misaken the bris. From my flesh, I will be able to gaze upon my God. Besari is, it says Besar Kodesh. First, B'tchila tzarich lesoken Besar Kodesh. Besar Kodesh, we know this is the Bris Kodesh. V'az yuchal listakel be'elokus, and then a person can gaze upon godliness. B'shvil zeh iker atik shel Tavas Momen. That's why the main principle behind rectifying the lust for greed, well, the bris. It's through the bris. Second bris, you rectify the bris. It is not possible to fall into the lust after money. Kim aladei melach. It says, I'm sorry. When a person is actually misaken his bris, when a person actually reach a level where his covenant is clean, it is not possible for him to fall into the lust of money. Because it's through the salt, which is the bris, Tavas Momen choser, that diminishes the Tavas Momen automatically. It's misbattled, it annihilates it. The Shorosh Ashpos, and what is the root, the very beginning of the Ashpos? It is called, the Shil is called a placenta, because this is where the fetus is. because the placenta, the shilia, is dalte bitni. That's the doors of the womb, the doors of the stomach. Ki yesh shnei dlatos leisho. There are two doors to the woman, so to speak. Ki lo sagar dalte bitni. He didn't close the doors of my stomach, which means there are two dalatim, there are two doors. And this dalte bitni is made out of shnei dalatim. The two letters dalat looks like this, right?
Yeah.
And the dalat looks like this, and you put them together to the two dalats. This is makes the womb. You know, so this is the two dalats. The two that are connected together, and they look like tzuras mem stum. Well, this is a closed mem. This is where the fetus is. And that mem, why dafka mem? What is this? Because in the spiritual principle of it, u'pchinas mem yom shel yitziras havlad. That's the 40 days with which the fetus is being created. You know, the fetus is not a viable thing as long as 40 days did not pass. It's only once the blood is 40 days, it's already a living thing. And killing it is constituted, killing, it's murder. The same way in the heaven, these are the doorsteps of the firmament, of the Shemayim. This is where, from which the plenty, the bounty comes. Hashem opened the doors of heaven. He gave the man to Am Yisrael. He gave them food. He gave them plenty. That's why the root of all the ashpos, of all the plenty, of all the riches, is called shilya. It's called a placenta. This is where the blood is. In the same way that the placenta, over here we're talking about the womb. The very same, there are doors to the womb, there are doors to the supernal womb, the spiritual womb that gives all the plenty to the world, that over here coarsens into money. In the womb, in the placenta of a mule. That's the tikkun of somebody who was a shomer bris when he falls in the tavis moment. In other words, let them look at the shirish of the money, where the light is totally clean, where it's totally spiritual, and it's such an unbelievable spiritual pleasure that you don't exist anymore. You're so steeped in this pleasure, and a person won't be pulled after the gashmis the kataiva of money. So they tell them, since when does a mule has a womb, has a placenta? Because the akum en la filu beis vlad, it doesn't even have a womb. Only the money and the shefa, it has a shirish above, which is completely clean and pure light. But for the Zorah, which is the lust for money, it doesn't have a root at all. It doesn't have a placenta. It doesn't have a womb at all. That's why anybody who is already tied up to the Zorah of money, he cannot concentrate his mind to look at the root of the money, because he's totally immersed in lusting after money that doesn't have a root. He wants to bring the shefa by running after money, and not by looking, to the spiritual root of money. What can salt possibly spoil? Salt does not spoil. Anybody who rectified his bris, which is melach, this does not fall into Tavis moment. Now the Rabbi Shimon told them that he says he only answered them according to their shita. Like he said, anybody's masak in the bris, he doesn't fall to Tavis moment. So they says, okay, yes, but let's say that somebody is masak in the bris, he did fall into Tavis moment. What would he do? So he said you would look into the root of where the money is. And it says, so they meant to say, that let's say that he's Misakin Bris and he has Taivas Moment. So he says he looks into the root. Suddenly a person can be attacked by, suddenly a surge of Taivas Moment, whatever it is, or something that he didn't rectify yet, whatever it is. When you get sensitized, when people they're used to looking at women, okay, and they're looking at all kinds of schmutzedikus stuff. When they go and they see a normal woman in the street, they don't get any machshavas, they don't get any she's ugly, whatever it is. But when a person is shomer einayim, when a person is guarding his eyes, sometimes he sees just any kind of woman that can give him machshava. Why? Because he's super sensitive. Yeah. So he's super susceptible. So let's say that somebody is already clean, but there's something still there. You haven't cleaned it completely. He says it's only there yashita. If there was a possibility for somebody who is already in the best to Paul in Talas moment, his eitzah would have been to look at the shirish of the shefa, look at the root of the shefa. Okay, then only he can look at the root of the shefa, which is a lakus. Because he already rectified Psal Kodesh. He already Misak in the bris. But in truth, he told him, your shaila doesn't need your question doesn't need an answer. Because anybody who is zeichet to tikkun a bris doesn't fall to Tavas Monon. And anybody who is not zeichet to Tavas Monon, he falls to Tavas Monon, he cannot look into the root of, into the spiritual root, into the sharish. He can't do it. Ad kan for today. An extra session. Because, what?